Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel dedicated not only to my 2012 Jeep Rubicon, but to Jeeps in general. Today, I will be replacing my front seals, as you will see, isn't any fun at all. So the Black Book time assessment on this job is 5 hours, and I figured, well, you know, I'm investing that much time, I might as well swap out my axle shafts while I'm at it. And in addition to swapping out these stock axle shafts, I'm also going to do the hubs. So let me first talk about the hubs. Ruby's got 170,000 kilometers on her, and I just figured, given what she's been through, it was just time to replace these old factory OEM units. Now, these are the originals. They did really good again, considering what Ruby's been through, and I opted to go with the NAPA Proformer Hubs. Now, they're $100 per corner more expensive than any others like Onyx, Crown, or even the Mopars. But to be honest, the fit and finish of these is amazing. They even appear to be zinc coated on certain parts. I did very little prep work. Just did a little bit of painting on some of the exposed parts, mostly just because I like flat black on my undercarriage. But you know, the fit and finish, the quality, and they come with 10.9 grade steel studs, so it's a huge upgrade. So like I said, this is a pretty big installation. There's a lot of tools required. I'm not going to list every single one of them. I'm just going to focus on the important ones, like having a little bit of patience and having one of these. This is a seal installation tool. I purchased this off Amazon. The link will be in the description. The way it works is your new seal just mates perfectly with this end. And using a 1 1/4 inch wrench, you just basically spread this apart. So this end here sits against your housing, this one against your new seal, and it just presses it in perfectly. It takes the guesswork out of installing the seal. And to be honest, I don't know how you could really do this installation without this tool. I'm sure there's a way, but I don't know it. Anyways, it's time to get into this install.
First off, remove the hub nut. Some say you need a 36 mil, others say 35. Let me settle that debate right here and now. The 36 mil did have some play, but the 35 wouldn't even go on. So with the wheel partially installed and a small amount of weight on it, I loosened off the hub nut. I was expecting it to put up more of a fight than it did. Next up, remove the brakes. I just removed the two 21mm bolts that attach the brakes to the spindle. Be sure to hang the caliper, don't let it dangle on the hoses. Now it's time to grab that 12-point socket and remove these old hubs. The most important thing here is to make sure that the socket goes all the way onto the bolt. Don't be scared to use a rubber mallet if you need to. To the best of my knowledge, these hubs have only been removed once, and it was about 6 years ago when I was hunting down a nasty death wobble. I put on new ball joints. The bolts are pretty tight, but it wasn't too bad. They weren't exactly in the best condition, so I swapped them out for brand new ones from Canada Mopar Parts. Before you get too far, don't forget to drain the pumpkin. Otherwise, you just might have a bit of a mess on the floor when you pull out your axles. Since I had no intention of using these hubs ever again, I smacked them off with a hammer. This will flat spot the bearings, so if you do need to reuse your hubs, you'll have to find a less destructive way to remove them. I put a shop towel into the axle tube because I'm planning just a little bit of cleanup before I install the new axles and hubs. While it might be possible to leave the main steering link attached, I didn't want to be bothered by it, so I removed one side of it. Next up was the diff cover. Mine drained overnight, so there really shouldn't be much fluid left over, but be prepared for some just in case. On Rubicon models, you will have to disconnect the electronic locker connector. I absolutely suck with Chrysler electrical connectors, so I bought a new one because I just knew I would break the old one. Once the 8mm bolt is removed, you'll have to push the connector out from the inside of the diff. Once it's loose, just twist it a bit and it should pop right out. I unplugged the back side first, which broke the connector for the first time, then I unplugged the differential side, which broke the connector for the second time. Next up, loosen off the bearing caps. This step is super critical. This piece, which holds the locking mechanism in place, needs to be installed the exact same way, so mark the top from the bottom. The same goes for the bearing caps. The diff itself needs a tiny amount of convincing to come out. Grab a pry bar and by using the crown gear bolts along with the edge of the axle housing, gently pry it out. Be absolutely sure to pull out not only the differential, but the complete bearing assembly and the shims too. I would suggest having pre-labeled Ziplocs ready. If you mix up the shims or the bearing assembly, your backlash on the diff gears will have changed. This means without reshimming, you'll wear your gears out. So this is a super critical step here. Time to pop out the old seals. You might have to do a little bit of wobble extension improvisation here. The surface looked pretty smooth, but I still removed as much of the old RTV as I could. Then I cleaned up the inside of the pumpkin, as there was a bit of debris from removing the seals and a bit of stray silicone. Remember that shop towel you stuffed into the axle tube? Push it the rest of the way through to give the inside of the tube cleaning. Do this on both sides as many times as you like. The tube will never be spotless because of the design, but it needs to be clear of any large debris. My OCD inspired me to pull out the shop vac. Prep the new seals with a thin layer of RTV on the outside. Place them loosely in their respective housing, and grab that fancy seal installation tool now. Apparently, I don't actually own a 1 1/4 inch wrench. Anyways, when the seal reaches the end of the housing, you won't be able to turn the wrench anymore. You can push as hard as you like, the tool prevents the seal from being damaged or crushed. Repeat the process on the other side.
Oh, I really wish I had this engineer's home address right now. Oh. Who puts seals here? Like, there's got to be a reason for it, but seriously.
Make absolutely sure that the little spring is still attached around the rubber portion of the seal. If the spring has popped off, just put it back in place. Now it's time to put the diff back in. You must do this with the bearing assembly as well as the shims attached. This isn't any fun at all, but it's the only way. Gently hammer the diff with a rubber mallet. On Rubicon models, be sure not to hammer the solenoid. I gently whacked mine on the bearings and the crown gear. Reinstall the caps, again in the same direction as they came off. Then torque them down to 80 foot-pounds. This does vary depending on your model, so be sure to check the interwebs. Reinstall the connector. For the inner connection, just double check the routing of the wire so that it's not going to get caught in the gears. I use green RTV on my diff cover. I don't do the prettiest job here, but I know it won't leak. Do your best to line it up in one go, but don't worry too much if you have to do small adjustments. I install one bolt on top and one at the bottom loosely before tightening it down. I hand tightened this in a crisscross pattern, and then I did another pass in the same pattern with my torque wrench set to 30 foot-pounds. Time to reinstall that rod end. Time to install my brand new TeraFlex axles, and this is where shit went bad.
Let me be perfectly clear. This is no fault of 4-wheel parts. This is all on TeraFlex, who don't appear to know their axles from their magic underwear. Now TeraFlex has two axle kits, 330-4100, which is what I ordered, mainly because it's the first one that came up in the search, and they have another one, 330-4000. Both are marketed as fitting Rubicon models of the JK. Not only on their website, but on Quadratechs, on Summits, and on 4 Wheel Parts. Basically every retailer I found had them listed as fitting my model of Jeep. Again, this is from TeraFlex's documentation. So when it came time to installing my shafts, the passenger side was too long and the driver's side was too short. I reached out to TeraFlex and the tech just confused the life out of me. He initially said that TeraFlex does not make a Rubicon axle replacement or a replacement axle shaft for any model of JK, period. They only make axle shafts for their proprietary housings. Later on, after several very ranty emails going back and forth, he admitted that the 4000s will in fact fit a Rubicon model of JK. But by this time I was so disillusioned and so frustrated with TeraFlex that I just abandoned the entire idea of upgrading my axle shafts.
As mentioned, I gave up on the TeraFlex axles. I got a brand new set of Mopar shafts instead. Not much of an upgrade on the shaft side, but I did upgrade the U-joints to 1310s. I did this just for a bit of extra strength and at least some peace of mind. Be sure to install these little Teflon washers. Their only purpose is to help guide the shaft into the differential. The axle, aftermarket or factory, should slide in easily. And it should actually fit. Install the hub bolts, dust shield, and then the hubs. In the case of new hubs, make sure to route your ABS sensor wire so that it's safe from rotating parts. As with the removal, ensure your 12-point socket is properly seated onto the hub bolts. The NAPA hubs have higher torque specs than factory, 100 foot-pounds. Reinstall the brakes, torquing the caliper bolts to 120 foot-pounds. As for the hub nut, NAPA again calls for 100 foot-pounds. Turn it as much as you can while on axle stands. To finish it off, I partially reinstalled the tire and put just enough weight on it so that it wouldn't rotate. I then refilled the diff with 1.3 quarts of 7590 fluid. And finally, I retorqued the wheel nuts.
And that's it. Rubi's now got new seals, new axles, and new hubs. Initially, like I said earlier, I was kind of disappointed because this is a big job. For me, because I'm doing a lot of extra prep and painting, because I want Rubi to look presentable for this YouTube channel. For me, it's a big job. It's 8 to 10 hours, and I just felt, I really didn't make Rubi better. And I just felt that sticking with stock axle shafts didn't make this entire job worthwhile. And it's a big job, it's a 6-hour job. So I was pretty deflated. But, then I started realizing I'm sort of at a crossroads here with Rubi. So let's say I do put stronger axle shafts, like say G2s, or heaven forbid, I order the 330-4000s from TeraFlex, sort of again. Either way, I'm still putting them into a 30 spline differential. So I'm basically moving the failure point from something relatively inexpensive to fix, like a broken axle shaft or a half shaft, yoke, whatever the outer portion's called. I'm moving that failure from outside to something more expensive inside, like the differential. So I'm really at a crossroads. I think I'm probably going to end up sticking with stock axle shafts for now, and at some point I'll upgrade to ARB lockers that have a 35 spline and basically go big. But now that I really think about it, she's got brand new axles. I mean, granted, they're still just the stock strength Mopar replacement axle, but it does have a 1310 U-joint, and those hubs are definitely an upgrade over anything stock or OEM replacement. So at the end of the day, I might be disappointed, but I think it's for naught. I think I did make Rubi better, and at the very least, she's not going to leak. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I'm out of here.